If you're looking to make a bold pivot in your career or life, this video is for you. I'm going to share some top tips from my experience where I moved from the creative arts into strategy consulting and now in tech. Deciding who do you want to be when you grow up is a tough call. Indeed, I think for some of us, for many of us, it may be a lifelong pursuit. In a world that is constantly evolving, I think most of us will need to be comfortable with the idea of switching. So what does it take to pivot careers or to reinvent yourself? 5 mindset tips and 5 action tips that I believe are quite helpful when it comes to pivoting careers. Mindset. Number 1 is humility. Just really acknowledging the fact that you're in a space that you don't know much about is a great place to start. Now, please don't confuse this with lack of confidence. When I was at McKinsey, there were many new members of the teams who were actually seasoned senior professionals from industry who had moved into strategy consulting and were pivoting. They were often managed by managers, project managers who were sometimes 10, 15 years younger than them. Just having the humility to say, I know I'm older, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to learn because there's something I don't know about your field. It's just a mindset shift, and you have to do it in a way that has grace. So my number 1 tip will be starting from a place of humility. Second mindset is of patience. Moving into a new career takes time. And I think having that approach that nothing's going to occur overnight, it does take a brick by brick sort of an approach, but it will happen and you just need to really put in the time and the dues. Third is commitment, not letting yourself quit too early. If you say, I'm going to switch from law into finance, I'm going to give myself at least 2 years where I study and I try to look for a job before I throw my hands up in the air and go back to law. So really having the commitment is critical because it's going to be tough and you don't want to drop out at a time when you're just about making a breakthrough. The fourth one is inspiration. You need to find actively sources that inspire you, that keep you fueled for the journey. When I was studying for the GMAT, as someone from the creative arts background, it felt like a pivot. I would actually go on GMAT Club and read about stories of people who had scored high scores. And that used to fuel me. So actually, I got into a practice where I would reserve some time in my schedule to feed myself inspiration. And the last one is openness. You don't want to be rigid about a certain path. And this is important, right? Because you might see somebody else and you might think that's the only path that's possible. If you can be open about the multiple routes to get to the same place, that could hold you in good stead. I started out with a degree in filmmaking, mass communication, and that's not typically a starting point that gets you to work in McKinsey in New York. However, I found a different path that led me to the same place. And you would think unless you go to an IIT, unless you go to IIM Ahmedabad or you go to Harvard, you don't actually get to work there. But that's not true. And so being open and having a mindset of openness is actually quite important to pivoting in a way that's unique to you. Those were mindset tips. Now, of course, it's not just mindset, it is also about action. Here's 5 suggested actions. Number 1, start early. Now, I know this sounds ridiculous, right? Because of course you would start as soon as you can. But that's the message, start as soon as you can. If you're in a business school or studying to go to business school, the earlier you start to do the exploration of what you want to pivot to, the sooner it is or the easier it is likely to be. So for example, if you know it's a 2-year MBA and you start out thinking you might want to move away from what you were doing previously, start, T-minus 30 days. Before you even get there, start the thinking about what that might be, what the destination might be. This is really to know there is time value of money and there is time value of career decisions as well. So the earlier you start, the better it is. The second is focus. There are so many different things we can do today because we have access to all kinds of open courses online, all kinds of remote opportunities. Challenge now is not what else can you do. The challenge is how can you focus on the one thing that really matters. And so I actually think the mantra for this generation is subtract, not add. How many things can you remove from your life to make space for the one thing that matters? Once you know what you want to do, really prioritize, ruthlessly prioritize that one thing and let everything else go. An example for this is when I was at INSEAD, I was really struggling with some of the classwork because again, I hadn't studied that before, and for me things like accounting, microeconomics was brand new. And so very quickly I realized, wait, I'm not here for the grades. I'm here to get a great job. I'm here because I want to pivot my career from where I was to where I want to be. That actually really helped me prioritize my casework or my job search. Third is reach out. Don't underestimate the power of the network. Take the example, you're a lawyer, you want to move to finance. Start to reach out to anyone and everyone who you think might know anything about finance and start asking them questions. Start to understand what kind of decisions do they have to make, what do they do on a daily basis, what are the challenges of their job. Reach out to people in your network or in your extended network and try to find out more from them that can help you make a decision or help you craft a path to that destination. Fourth, use adjacencies. Now, what in your current field of work is closest to an adjacency? Can you use those strengths to pivot just a little bit? So if you're trying to pivot 180 degrees, the first step should be to pivot 10 degrees or 20 degrees. So find those mini pivots or use adjacencies to make those mini pivots so that you can actually eventually get there. Now this takes humility, patience, openness, all of the above mindsets. The last tip is probably the most obvious, which is do. And there's a quote by Marie Forleo which I love where she says, clarity comes from engagement, not thought. So don't just keep thinking about what you want to do, what should the pivot be. So make that call, write that email, take the internship, start your own project, put yourself out there and do something that gets you closer to where you want to be. So hopefully these tips are helpful. All the very best for your pivot. I'm personally always looking out for more tips because I'm a multi-passionate person and there's many pivots in my life I continue to hope to make. So I would love to learn from you. What other ideas do you have that have helped you to pivot careers? Please write in the comments below, and I'm very glad to be back on this channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.